This week on Not Another Movie Podcast, we talk about our constant hard-on since watching the new War of the Planet of the Apes trailer.
Don't tell them about our yeah, okay, not our personal conversation. That's fine. We also talk about Netflix seems to be bringing Arrested Development back to the small screen.
And The Last Jedi has the biggest reveal ever, better than Empire.
Our erections? Are you better than Empire?
Give me a break. Hello and welcome back to episode 16 of Not Another Movie Podcast. I am Sean Pierce.
And I am Sean Kelly.
And as we spoke about in the intro, there was a trailer dropped this week that both of us have been hard ever since. And that is the new War for the Planet of the Apes trailer.
You know, they say, like, to see a doctor if it lasts for more than 4 hours. Well,
Yeah.
what happens when it's lasted, all week? Can I just say as well that this has really been the season for good trailers.
Tell me about it. They've really upped their game this year.
Yeah. For all the crap that Suicide Squad got, I think it really started something in the trailer business.
Well, this has been good because this is kind of... It's broken away from the trailers that we've been getting recently where everything's cut to this fantastic song. It's just gone back to beautiful visuals, storytelling, and giving us what this movie is going to be. Rather than the nice polish that we've been getting previously on other trailers, which I do like, but it's nice to see things go back to basics with this one.
Yeah, changing it up a little bit.
Yeah, and my God, this film does look good.
It looks so good.
When I posted it, I said, I'm calling it now. This is going to be the movie of the summer for me, I reckon, and in general.
Yeah, not to hype it up too much because you never do know, but I didn't want to watch this trailer because, I sacrificed for this podcast because I wouldn't have watched this trailer except for the podcast because I didn't want to see any more before this film. But it gave a few new scenes, but no new plot or anything like that. So it just looks so good. The action looks awesome. The aesthetic, this snowy kind of Russia. I know it's not Russia, but that kind of aesthetic is really awesome. I was going to say cool, but then that would be leading into a snow pun. Yeah, I think it just looks amazing. They've really managed to differentiate themselves. Like each film has a really distinct look.
Yeah, it has. And, we also got introduced to this new little girl element of this story too. So, they've introduced it, but they haven't really explained how or why, or why the humans have taken her, why the apes have taken her, why the humans left her. Why are they protecting her? Why didn't they just hand her over back to the humans? They've got so many conflicting stories that we don't really know about. And most big action films now that you see, you kind of know all three acts of the film, but this one, you really don't know.
Do you think? Do you think that little kid is Woody Harrelson's daughter?
I don't know. You wouldn't have thought so because there's a scene in the film where they say. A female is talking to Caesar, and Caesar says the humans left her. So you wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm keen for some big revelations and some big explosions in this movie.
Well, not only was the trailer awesome, we posted on our Facebook page. They released a poster for this as well, and the poster looks incredible. You've got all these apes wearing all these army helmets, and all the army helmets have got individual details. One's got human kills, and he's got crosses next to him, he's counting them. Something that you would see out of a Full Metal Jacket type poster.
Now.
Yeah, so they've really broken the mold again with the poster, because the posters now are coming quite generic. They all kind of look the same.
Yeah.
But this one has a really nice, unique look, and it's something that you haven't really seen before.
Yeah, they're just win-win. I want this film to be the end of the trilogy, but I also want more. Is that possible?
Well, speaking of which, that goes into our first news topic of the week. And basically, the director has come out and said that they've always looked at a 3-film trilogy. And that's not to say that there won't be any other films after this one, but they're trying to get as close as to the original Planet of the Apes as possible. So technically, this would be like a lead-in to the Charlton Heston original film. But what do they do then? Do they continue the story that's already been told? because how many Planet of the Apes films were there after that? I think it was like 5 or 6, wasn't
I
there?
think there was something like that. And they got a bit crazy, let's be honest.
Yeah, it did. It got a bit stupid. But can they really go and tell that story again? I don't know. I suppose a lot of the younger audience haven't seen it, and the people are basically jumping aboard this franchise with the new films rather than being a fan of the old ones. So I guess they could.
I just hope if they do decide to go down that road, they're bringing just something fresh to it. I don't want them just rehashing the exact thing, which is what they seem to be doing.
Yeah, well, they said that the trilogy was the birth of Caesar and how he grew to be the Caesar that ended up in the Charlton Heston film.
Can we just go...
Maybe we do get a Planet of the Apes story after this.
Can we just go back to that poster for a second? Because I'm just having another look at it now. And it's actually the army that's walking up to Caesar is a mixture of apes and humans. And so this is another interesting thing about this film, because we see in the trailer the big gorilla like reloading the gun. And there was that previous one, when Caesar was like, "You'll never be one of them." And just looking at the apes here, a lot of them have donkey painted on their backs. So they must be like using ape slaves.
Yeah, that's possible too.
That's interesting. And this big gorilla is like, he thinks
it looks like that the apes have got the humans hostage. If you have a look, the apes are pointing the guns towards the humans. All the apes are around it, and all the humans are in the middle. And all they're pointing everything to humans and the humans are bowing their head to Caesar.
Oh, no, I see it as the humans are pointing their guns at Caesar.
Okay, I see it the other way. I reckon the apes have got the guns held up to the humans, and they're bowing down to Caesar.
Good movie.
That's how I see it. So, this is going to be fantastic. I really can't wait to see it. And the good thing is, I think we've only got maybe 2 more months, I think. So, it's going to be awesome to see. And I would love to see how they deal with the fact that the next movie would be the Planet of the Apes. And then we can completely wipe out the Tim Burton one that we got so many years ago from our memories.
I didn't hate it.
It ended stupidly. I don't think it...
That's fair enough. I'll buy that.
Yeah.
But Marky Mark, man, can't go wrong.
Yeah, well, sometimes you can. I've spoken at length many a times about his one good one bad one type ratio. Yeah. So, all right, well, go on.
I was just going to say, the apes in that movie were just something special. Like the humans in the pseudo prosthetic makeup was just, I don't know, it was really cool. And Paul Giamatti. Yeah, for its time, exactly right.
Yeah, it was good because I think it was one of the last, like, real practical visual effects with the apes, and then obviously now it's all digital. So you're right, there was something special about it.
Yeah,
I don't think the film was that great though.
Oh well, that's right. Anyway,
all right. Well, this week in Star Wars news, there was a really interesting. Now, there's a bit of a story here, so just bear with me. There was a Japanese leaflet going around promoting the upcoming film Star Wars The Last Jedi, and it had been translated to English, and basically it reads as this: "The most shocking truth in Star Wars history will soon be revealed. New generation's tale struggles with the light and dark, virtue and evil, has begun with the death of Han Solo." Hang on, so I've just lost my place. In a galaxy where the First Order and the Resistance are fighting against each other in a war, the heroine Rey has the Force awoken within her. What will happen to the galaxy when Rey and the other remaining Jedi, Luke Skywalker, meet? Kylo Ren has fallen to the dark side of the Force, killed his father Han Solo, and as a successor of his grandfather Darth Vader, the high-ranking enforcer for the Force Order, where will his ambition lead him to? Furthermore, Kylo Ren's mother, the leader of the Resistance, Leia, Poe and Finn, and BB-8 will embark on a new mission. Now, what can be the biggest reveal of all time? I mean, the biggest reveal of all time was obviously, and I reckon it still is in any film, was Darth Vader being Luke's father. So how can it get any bigger than that?
I really wish I was there to see it, but my mum tells the best story about she sat down to watch Empire Strikes Back with my nephews after they'd seen Star Wars, and they didn't know that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father, so they lost their shit when that was revealed. Yeah. And it's like, I've just kind of always grown up knowing, so
that's right, same.
Yeah, so I can't wait to do that with Mika. And if she doesn't lose her shit, I'm going to be incredibly disappointed and ask for a refund.
You'll be looking for adoption websites online.
You know what? Darth Vader may be Luke Skywalker's father, but I'm not your father.
My favorite story out of the reveal has always been from The Simpsons when Homer Simpson walks out of watching Empire Strikes Back. Who would have thought Darth Vader was Luke's father? And there's a crowd of people all booing him as he walks out.
And he doesn't even notice. Love him. Yeah, so I don't know, but the thing is, these days with the internet, every theory, every possible connection has been made. I don't know how you could surprise people anymore.
Well, we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, that we're hoping that this film, kind of goes on its own track now, rather than we obviously know Force Awakens was pretty much a carbon copy of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a carbon copy of Empire? Like, they've just spoken about how we've got Leia, Poe, Finn, and BB-8 are on a mission. Rey and Luke are going to be on a mission. Like, they're separating the group again. And then, if this shocking reveal at the end leads into Episode 9, then basically it is just another carbon copy of Empire Strikes Back.
I think the only thing that they can really do is as we talked about last episode, do the crossover. So do Kylo turning to the light and Rey turning to the dark. I think they've done turning to the dark before, but they haven't done someone in the dark turning to the light. And I think that could be really the only thing they could do. That would be really unique for a major Star Wars film.
Yeah, it would be crazy if that happens. But I couldn't see Disney letting go one of their big female leads now to the dark side.
Yeah, that's true. It'd be cool to see a female Sith Lord on the big screen, though.
Oh, it would be awesome. It would be incredible to see. But I don't know whether they're ready for that just yet.
Well, look, I have no idea what it's going to be. I don't want to think too much about it because I want to be surprised when I get in there.
Well,
it's going to be hard not to think about it.
Yeah, I agree. We've got, 6 more months before it happens, so fingers crossed it doesn't get spoiled before that. But the problem is that, if there is this massive reveal, you're going to have to go watch this on the first screening because the internet is a real a-hole of a place, and there'll be people just waiting to spoil everyone's party. So,
what about this? Han Solo comes back.
Yeah, that's true.
I have no idea how that could possibly happen.
Technically haven't seen his body.
Yeah, there you go. Sure, it fell down a massive shaft, and then soon after the planet that it was on exploded. But who knows? The Force may be with him.
It could be that there was a plane flying underneath that shaft. He fell onto the plane, made his escape, and then the plane exploded. Bang, done.
Darth Maul survived his cutting in half.
Yeah, well, this is true.
In the extended series, like he fell through as a torso and then got robot legs or something. So who the hell knows?
Yeah, this is true.
I'd love to see Han Solo come back out with robot legs.
Yeah. No, yeah, well, Luke got a robot hand, so why not?
Exactly. And the way Harrison Ford keeps crashing his planes, he's probably going to need some prosthetics pretty soon.
That's if he even lasts the episode 9.
Exactly right.
Touch wood.
They'll just CG him in.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, there's a character that has been done to death, and for some reason they are resurrecting him again, and that is Michael Myers.
Done to death, I get it.
Yeah. Of the Halloween fame. Now, after Jordan Peele's big launch from comedy into horror, it seems like Danny McBride is trying to do the same thing. Now, if anyone hasn't seen Danny McBride, he's more of a comedy actor. He's been more in TV in shows like Eastbound and Down, and another one called Vice Principals, which was really good. So he's more of a comedic actor. But now
he was in Alien.
Yeah, and he was in Alien. I got to admit, actually, he wasn't that bad in it.
He was fine.
Yeah, I was expecting something a lot worse, but no, it was actually quite good. But he's going to be writing the new Halloween film with filmmaker David Gordon Green, which he basically works on with those 2 shows that I mentioned. Now, these 2 are quite an odd choice to make this happen, to be honest.
Yeah, there's no horror. They're not coming from a pedigree or anything like that.
No. But I do like the approach that they're going with. They've basically come out and said that the first film was very simple, and it achieved a level of horror that wasn't corny, and it wasn't turning Michael Myers into some supernatural beast that couldn't be killed. So if they are going to go back to basics and make him mortal, which is what they want to do, then maybe it might work.
Yeah, well, look, I've never been the hugest fan of the Halloween series. They just weren't part of my register growing up, and then later on they were a bit harder to get into.
Not even the
So look,
first
we'll
one?
wait and see. No, not
No?
really.
You weren't impressed with that beautiful opening scene that lasted a one shot? I think it was like 10 minutes going through the
Oh,
house.
oh, I've
No?
not seen it since for a long time. No,
Okay, alright, fair enough.
I might have to check it out again. But look, I'd love for him to do a spoof like they did with Your Highness.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
I don't think they will, but Danny McBride does a good spoof. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it couldn't be any worse than the Rob Zombie ones that came out a couple of years ago. So
Yeah,
fingers
yeah.
crossed that they can do something better than what was those films.
I just hope they're building up to the Mike Myers versus Freddy Krueger versus Jason.
Well, I know they did Freddy versus Jason, so they might
Yeah,
as well
which was
just
awesome.
throw another one in there.
Chuck him in there.
Yeah. All right. Well, this part, this story, I find quite interesting. William Friedkin is a director who basically created one of the best horror films ever made, in my opinion, and that was the 1973 classic film, The Exorcist. Now he's going to come out and make a Exorcist or exorcism documentary that will follow moments from his own film, and he's going to go to actual exorcisms to see how much involvement his film has in current exorcisms.
So I don't get it. Does he believe these exorcisms are real, or is he going there as just kind of, well, this exorcism is fake, but let's see how much they ripped off my movie? Is that what he's kind of doing?
No, I think he's going in there believing that it's the real deal, and how
If
much
you believe,
how much his own movie still influences, modern exorcisms, and how a film that is over 40 years old now still plays a part in modern exorcisms.
so does he think like the devil watched his movie and is like, wow, that's a good idea. I'm gonna get on that shit.
You would have thought that the devil would watch that film and then try and work on ways that he can't be beaten. So he's like, oh yeah, so the power of Christ compels me. I'll just write a new thing that avoids the
Yeah.
exorcism coming from that saying. So yeah, as I said, it could work.
I just make myself vulnerable to middle-aged priests, not this old young priest bullets.
I need a young priest and an old priest. Every time that I deal with a difficult situation, I always use that line. I'm like, right, people, we need an old priest and a young priest. But
We laugh, but that movie scared the crap out of me.
yeah, it did, and it was funny. That was that film was it was the last horror film my wife watched with me.
Good call.
Yeah, when it came out for the well, I can't remember what anniversary it was, but it came back to the cinemas in a remastered one. That was it for her. She would never come to another horror film with me again. Yeah.
We watched that during the day during school holidays. My brother put it on. It was like, and he knew what it was, and he was the older brother, and he wasn't even watching the movie. He was just watching us for our reactions. And when she like crawls backwards down the stairs, we were done. That was it. Like we were already crapping ourselves.
How old were you? 23.
Oh, it was yesterday. No, we were, I don't know, high school sometime, early high school. I mean, young. We were like primary school. We were like 2. Ooh. No.
It was, and I remember that the stories coming with that one, people running out of the theaters, throwing up. It just created this whole hysteria that it was one of those films that you had to go and see to see if it actually was that bad. So
Yeah.
and I think it still holds up pretty well today, to be honest.
Just like Two Girls, One Cup. Exactly.
Yes. I'll just move on from that one.
I actually haven't seen that, but yeah, anyway, moving
Okay,
on.
yeah. One of our favorite TV shows, Stranger Things, is due to come out in Halloween. But the showrunners and the writers, the Duffer Brothers, they've come up with so much story that they've got more than enough now to lead into a season 3. Now, season 3 hasn't even been greenlit yet, so at least we know that things are getting onto the right page now, and then they've already worked out what this season is, and then it's going to continue into a season 3. So that's pretty exciting.
And hopefully it means that they're not just scraping through to try and get a new season in. And hopefully, the story will make sense and be a continuation and not just just a random story set in the same universe.
Yeah. So I think this season's only going to be like 9 episodes, they said. So they've got,
Which is fine.
Yeah, they've got so much story that they're going to push into a season 3, which more than likely now you think is going to be every Halloween Stranger Things season comes out. So that's something I can live with.
Oh yeah, like what a tradition that would be for a
Yeah.
couple of years at least.
Well, it's good news for the kid who played Will, Noah Schnapp. He's going to be has a lot to do with this season because pretty much he got screwed over in the first season. He got put in the
Yeah,
upside down world, and no one really saw him again. And
forgotten about.
the other five kids, got really popular after that. And poor Will, it was just always in the background. Oh yeah, I was in season 1 and 9, episode 1 and 9. So he's going to have more of a play in season 2.
Because Barb got like a big following after that, and she wasn't in it for much more than Will was.
Well, so much so that Barb, who I don't know, I actually haven't looked up her IMDb if she's actually been in anything else.
She's in Riverdale.
Oh,
I
okay.
knew that.
Yeah, well, she's coming out for the Australian Oz Comic Con.
That's so good.
I'm like, oh, it's a bit
That's
of a stretch, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well,
Look,
they
yeah.
actually had the girl who plays 11. She was supposed to come out, and the guy who plays the sergeant, the names escape me now. But
David Harbour, our
yeah,
new Hellboy.
yes, both of them were supposed to come out as well, but they both cancelled at the last minute, so that kind of sucked
Oh yeah,
for
it's no
Stranger
fun.
Things. So yeah, it's quite funny how if a show that you're in takes off, you just become kind of immortalized in the pop culture world that we live in, and you can just go to these conventions and apart from fans, no one even would notice you walking down the street. It's quite
No,
funny how that works.
she was in Stranger Things, Riverdale, Rise, and that's it.
Yeah,
Really.
so yeah, as I said, you wouldn't even recognize her in my opinion, but good luck to her.
Yeah.
All right, well, another massive Netflix announcement, and I don't know if you've ever been a fan of this show, but one of my all-time favorite comedies. I've got three. I've got Curb Your Enthusiasm, the show that's made by Larry David. I've got The Office and Extras, which was made by Ricky Gervais, and Arrested Development. Arrested Development is a show that came out in, I think it was either late 90s or early 2000s, and it was out for 3 seasons. It was a critical success,
So good.
but no one watched it. All right, so Fox really struggled to keep it on the air for 3 seasons, but it hands down one of the funniest shows you will ever watch. But it never really got the audience it deserved, so it got canned after 3 seasons. They made a fourth season on Netflix, which a lot of people complained about because
Yeah, I didn't like it.
yeah, it wasn't great. It had some really good moments, but the biggest complaint is that the cast never seemed to be together like they were for the 3 seasons. The cast now has gone on to do so many bigger and better things, like Justin Bateman. You've got
Jason Bateman, yeah.
Will Arnett. You've got Portia de Rossi. You've got all these amazing actors that have just gone on to do so many things. So now it's hard to get this massive ensemble back together. Michael Cera is another one to get them back together. So by the sounds of it, they've announced season 5, and the cast are all going to be back, hopefully all at the same time. So we're going to see that brilliance that made this film or this TV show so good to start with, was how they all interacted and played off each other. So hopefully
Yeah.
we're going to see that again.
So if you've never seen the series, go and check it out. Skip season 4, don't worry about it. If you're a fan of the season and you saw season 4, don't worry about it. They're going to hopefully fix all the issues with that with this next season.
And it's funny because they were talking about, because season 4 jumps around a lot, they said they were going to re-edit it so it was all linear, but they never actually went out and did that.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, although it had a lot of good parts in it, it just never hit the heights of the first three seasons.
Well, let's hope. I will look. I have a lot of faith in Ron Howard and the crew, so I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, I can't wait for next year. That's when it comes out. All right, well, we spoke about last week how King Arthur was shaping to be, looks like the first bomb of the season. Well, we could say that we're pretty much like Nostradamus on this podcast because
No one could have predicted it.
this week it looks like it's going to looking at $150 million loss after just pulling in $15.4 million at the domestic box office in the US. Now,
Yeah,
this has
that's
kind of taken a massive dump on the genre, and I don't think that we're going to see many more of these films, to be honest, because last year we had Ben-Hur, we had The Huntsman, The Winter War, we had Pan, we had Jake and the Giant Slayer, all these mythical fantasy films, Warcraft for another one. they're just not doing well in the box office. So
People just aren't interested at the moment.
No, I don't think so. And will they ever be again? I don't know.
It's always cyclical. I think superheroes are taking all the kind of like fantasy brain power at the moment.
Well, they were trying to sell this as like the first ever superhero. Basically, it had all the same elements of a Batman. A young man sees his family killed. He wants vengeance. He's able to pull the sword out, and he goes out and takes his empire back. It kind of
just like Batman.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of has that realm, but it just didn't hit with the audience.
I still want to see it. Jude Law as a villain's got my money.
And it's funny. It's actually one of the lowest domestic openings of all time for a big budget studio. So, considering how many bombs there have been of late, it's quite surprising that this is one that's going to top the charts for a long time.
Yeah.
So that got us thinking: what were some of the biggest box office bombs that were actually good?
Yeah, that deserved
to be successful. Did you want to kick off with yours? Or your
we'll kick off
honorable mentions?
We'll kick off with honorable mentions. So I've got two there. The first one is Waterworld. That should have been a massive hit. It gets a lot of crap, but it's a really fun movie. And people like to rag on it because it's one of the biggest bombs of all time. And look, it's got its problems, but it's a fun movie.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it looks good. And the story's okay. But I like the world building they've kind of done. Mad Max on Water is a cool idea. My other honorable mention, and this is an honorable mention because technically it did make money, but it's one of those, it didn't make like double its money, so therefore it's a flop, which is The Rocketeer. Have you seen this movie?
Yeah, I love this movie.
Yeah, I love the crap out of this movie. This is one of those on repeat when we were a kid kind of films. And it's just so good. And it's not on iTunes in Australia. I can't find where I can... I've got it on DVD, but I want it on digital so I can just watch it whenever the hell I want. But yeah, this is a hell of a good film. Timothy Dalton as a Nazi. Jennifer Connelly as like, a 1930s dame. What's his name? Campbell. I can't remember his first name, but he's a very dashing protagonist. Really good movie. And just one of it's in the same vein as the original Batman, I think, as, comic books brought to life.
Yeah, that was very cool. I really enjoyed it at the time.
Yeah. You want to do your honourable?
Yeah, well, my honourable mention, and it's a film that is regarded as the biggest box office bomb of all time. It lost Disney $200 million. This was before they had all the Pixars or the Star Wars or the
these days
Marvel.
that's chump change.
Yeah, so now they couldn't care less. But that was John Carter. And I remember when this film came out, the reason why it was such a bomb, in my opinion, is that they didn't know how to sell this film.
Yeah.
And it had so many different genres in it that I didn't even know what film I was going in to watch. But when I went in and watched it, and when I walked out, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good film, and I don't think it deserved the absolute caning that it got when it was released.
It wasn't even critically well received.
No, and that was a surprise, because have you seen it?
No, but after your recommendation, I will.
No, as I said, it's not that bad, and you can see, like, George Lucas was influenced by the original story of John Carter when he wrote Star Wars, and you can kind of see, all these different elements in that film. So, visually it's quite good, the storytelling is quite good, and as I said, I don't think they knew what they had on their hands, and it was marketed to a completely different audience than what it was probably looking for.
Yeah, I think bad marketing is a common theme through many of the films we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
In this list. All right, my number 3 for bombs that should have worked is my favorite Johnny Depp film of all time, Ed Wood.
Yeah, this is a great film.
This is a really good film, and it was made for a shoestring budget, made for only $18 million, but it only earned $5 million at the box office. Like, it got destroyed. If you haven't seen this movie, you need to see it. Johnny Depp plays Ed Wood, who was a real guy, a director from like the 50s, who just made the worst D-grade science fiction films that you can possibly imagine. And it's just a story about his life and these weird characters that he kind of surrounds himself with. And it's a kind of perverse hero story.
Yeah,
But
because he was a cross-dresser as well, wasn't he?
yeah, exactly right. So
Yeah.
yeah, he had the cross-dressing thing, but also he just had this like distinct vision for the cinema that nobody else seemed to like because it was a crap vision. But he was just so keen to see this vision come to life. And I won't spoil anything, but it's quite the ride.
And
And like I said, Johnny Depp's best performance, I think.
exactly. This is when Johnny Depp was still an actor and not just a parody of
Yeah,
Johnny Depp. So, and
and
I'm
this
actually
film,
surprised it cost that much money to make, actually, because there isn't that much in it.
no, it is quite long though. But and it's in black and white, so maybe that had something to do with it as well. Um, but I think this is Johnny Depp. He almost goes over the line of being ridiculous, but he's pulled it back just enough that he's still an endearing, sincere character. God, it's good. I want to watch it now.
Yeah, no, it is a great film.
And Sarah Jessica Parker's best role as well, I think.
I don't remember her in it. That's how
She's
good she was.
yeah. She's not in the whole movie. She's in sort of the first half, but
Yeah.
well worth a watch.
All right. Well, my number 3, and it's one of the films that is probably regarded as one of the greatest of all times, but it just didn't hit the mark when it was released, and that was The Wizard of Oz. It had a budget of $2.7 million.
That must have been huge at the time.
It was huge at the time. This is 1940s, I believe. So that is massive money. And it only returned $3 million. So it did turn a profit, but obviously 300 grand when you're investing $2.7 million isn't a nice return. Obviously, it went on to make a shit ton of money ever since. It's been re-released, remastered. So, but at the time, it was regarded as a flop. But even though it was quite critically acclaimed, it just didn't hit its mark when it was out at the cinemas.
Yeah, which is a real extra shame because you hear all the stories about how terrible the shooting situation was. So it's a real shame that this movie didn't make a lot. And as you say, it's just a classic now. I mean, we certainly grew up watching that film.
Yeah, I've seen this film hundreds of times. And
Are your kids into it?
No, I haven't sat down to watch it with Ryder yet. So as I said, I've spoken about his dislike of live action films, so I'm still waiting for him to turn a corner, or I'm waiting for my youngest one. I've learnt from the mistakes of the first one, and
good call.
Maybe I'll just wait till Ace is a bit older, and don't scare him off with live action films as I did.
Yeah, no, good call, good call. That was your Fantastic Four.
Yes, that was yes.
All right, my number 2 for bombs that shouldn't have been, and I was surprised this is a bomb, but The Labyrinth, which is another one of those films which has just become a beloved classic. Was made for $25 million, but only made $12 million at the cinema. And I can kind of understand because, again, along with John Carter, I think this would have been a hard film to market. I mean, it's kind of creepy, but also it's very heavy on the fantasy themes. It's got David Bowie strutting around, basically flashing everybody. And it's, I can imagine that the marketers would have had a very tricky time with it. But it's a bloody fantastic movie.
Oh, I totally agree with what you're saying now. I don't think it, especially at the time it came out as well, I think if, you had this flamboyant David Bowie now, I think it would have been a lot more acceptable to the audience, but maybe not back then when it was released. I think it was either late 70s or early 80s.
I think it was 80. I think it was in the 80s.
And considering the following Bowie had, it was still quite a surprise that it didn't hit as much as it did.
Yeah, and it's mostly his music as well. Do you think Tom Hiddleston should play David Bowie in a biography, in a biographic film? Well, it'd be awesome.
I think we spoke about songs that we wanted to turn into films, and I would love to see a Bowie film to cover every part of his life because, he was a fascinating character, and there's so much depth to what, could be put onto the screen if there was a David Bowie film. Or
they should do what they did with Bob Dylan and have multiple actors playing. That could be cool.
Oh, that would be cool, actually. I like that idea.
Because Labyrinth,
there were so many different versions of David Bowie,
exactly
so you
right.
could actually do that.
You have to make sure you get Jermaine Clements. You see Flight of the Conchords?
Yes.
Never mind. That was a great sequence with them playing Bowie. Moving on, Labyrinth, I wish wasn't a bomb in the cinema.
All right, well, this is actually one of my favourite films and easily in my top 10. And I was quite surprised to see it was on this list, and that was David Fincher's Fight Club. It had a budget of $63 million and only returned $37 million. Now, this is another film where you can see kind of fell into the trap of, they
Yeah.
probably didn't know how to market this film, because even now when I'm talking about it, I wouldn't even know what type of film to describe it as, because it's almost three different genres in one film.
Mm.
You've got,
Romantic comedy.
it's got this fantastic title, Fight Club. So you're assuming maybe it's a boxing film. Maybe you're assuming it's this secret underworld fighting film, which it kind of is, but then it gets turned into a political film. And then, as you said, it's got this romantic, fucked
Sort
up
of, yeah.
storyline going through the middle of as well. So yeah, as I said, I've seen this film so many times, and now I still can't describe what type of film it is.
Which I think is part of the reason why it's such a good film. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely see, and this is a film that I can't imagine people could have talked freely about. Well, you don't talk about Fight Club, but like, how do you explain this film after you've just seen it? Besides saying that it's just a good film.
And I think it was a film, and I'm not saying that I'm a smart bloke or anything like that, but this is a film that wasn't for the normal cinema going audience. I think it was way too
The
clever.
plebs.
Yeah, it was way too smart for the average cinema going audience, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah, I have to agree. And I didn't see this film in the cinema. I was too young, I think. But yeah, it has since become a much beloved film.
Yeah, no, I did see this at the movies where we worked, actually.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah. All right, your number one.
My number one film that was a flop and shouldn't have been. And this one, the other ones I can understand why they didn't succeed. I wish they had, but I can understand. This one I can't understand because it was such a good movie. It's Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It was made for $60 million. It only made $47 million back. And it should have been a huge hit. I mean, it had Michael Cera, who, wasn't huge, but he was certainly recognizable. It had fantastic visuals. It had, a cool story. It was really comic book writ large on the screen at a time when that was still, a cool thing to do. I don't understand why this movie didn't kill it.
Maybe if it was released now after the comic book craze, because this was kind of at the start, or not even at the start of the comic book craze.
Yeah, maybe.
So maybe, yeah, it just didn't hit its audience for the time.
Yeah, and I think marketing as well hurt this film, because, again, what do you really market? Is it like an action movie? Is it an adventure movie? Like, is it only for teens? It would have been tricky, but it was such a good movie, and it's so rewatchable. It's a really good film, and I'm really sad that it didn't explode, because it would have been good to see more in that style.
Yeah, it's very different from everything else, and it's Edgar Wright at his best.
I was going to say, yeah, it's very. Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of his best created films, and he's made some bloody good movies.
Yeah. All right. Well, my number one, and I reckon it is regarded in the all-time top 10 films, and that is The Shawshank Redemption. Now, this still staggers me how this film was a box office flop, because it's not like the other films that we spoke about where they were, a different type of film that never really found its audience. This was, a pure drama and storytelling at its best.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how...
Should have been an easy sell.
Exactly. That's exactly what it should have been. It should have been an easy sell. This was, you got a trailer that should have worked. You should have had amazing word of mouth. It shouldn't have opened. The reviews should have been, spectacular. But I don't know how this film missed everything, because if you speak to everyone, they would have Shawshank Redemption as one of their favorite films of all time. So this should be on Titanic level of money, but it isn't. It only pulled in $16 million worldwide. It's ridiculous.
Maybe it had to go back to the time. Maybe just people weren't in the mood for a deep drama set in a prison. Maybe that's not where we were at that time.
I'd like to say I think this might have been Shakespeare in Love time. I would love to find out what year this... It came out in 1994.
Didn't know when Best Picture? Yeah.
Yeah. As I said, I don't know why this film wasn't as big as what it was.
Yeah, I can't answer this one for you. The only showing that the universe has some justice is that it's gone on to become, as you said, one of the most critically acclaimed films of all time.
Yeah, but it's a film that Frank Darabont probably didn't get the recognition or success later on that he probably should have with this film.
Yeah. He's made some great films.
Yeah, he
I'm
has.
just going through this thing here.
But
Yeah.
if you have a look at, filmmakers of that generation, if you can knock out a film, well, two films actually, he did The Green Mile as well. If
Yeah.
you can knock out both of those films and still not be regarded as a great director, then
Yeah.
I don't know, what more do you need to do?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh, that was the year of Schindler's List.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that would have
Yeah,
been
maybe
a
people,
hard year.
yeah,
Yeah,
people were all drumming out.
yeah, that would have been a hard year. And just looking at it, he wasn't even nominated.
That's crazy.
Best Picture
I mean, that's
nominations that
silly.
year: Schindler's List, The Fugitive, In the Name of the Father, The Piano, and Remains of a Day. How
The
is
hell's
this
Remains of the Day?
I've heard of it, but I can't remember who's in it. But
Yeah.
how did The Fugitive get nominated before Shawshank Redemption?
People love Harrison Ford.
Yeah, but still, this is Shawshank Redemption.
Now, yeah, look, like I said, it is, there you go, still more widely regarded than any of those films, I guess, except for Schindler's List.
Yeah. But, yeah, as I said, Schindler's List would have been a tough year that year. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone was willing, especially how big the Jewish community is in Hollywood. It would be quite hard to see it pulling off any awards that year. Yeah.
Oh, well, they'll live. All of these flops will live on in our hearts, and many of them have gone on to great success after their cinema bombing.
Yeah, so...
Just goes to show you that box office isn't everything.
Yeah, well, this is true. But if you ask the studios that, they would say exactly.
Like they don't even, they can't even understand what I just said. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense to them.
They're like, say that again?
It's slower this time. I don't
Yeah.
understand.
Yes.
All
All
right,
right,
just
well,
punch me in the face.
well, that wraps up episode 16 of None Other Movie Podcast. I am Sean Pierce.
And I am Sean Kelly.
Let your week be a good week. Until next